addition to being chairman of the UBN, does he have another position? He's a GF, Nine Trey. So he's a GF. That means Godfather? Yes. Of the Nine Trey gangsters set? Yes. What did it mean to be chairman of the UBN? The UBN has a council, and which means that he's the head of the council. And who gets to sit on the council? Every hood has a GF, and that GF sits on the council. So every hood or set of the UBN has a Godfather? Mm-hmm. And that Godfather sits on the council? Correct. And being chair of that is a special position? Yeah. Is that the leader of the council? Yes. Where are the leaders of the UBN? Where are the Godfathers? Let me strike that. Where do the Godfathers who sit on the council, where are they? New York State Department of Corrections. They're incarcerated? Yes. What is James Baxton's position in the organization? He's under Magoo. Are you aware of his title or titles? Acting GF. Acting GF? Is that acting Godfather? Mm-hmm. Of what? Nine Trey. So that's the leadership? Mm-hmm. Let's go to the other end of the organization. Let's talk about how people get made members of the organization. You can be blessed in, or you have to shoot 31 seconds. It's usually 5-on-1. I'm sorry? It's usually 5 people on one person for 31 seconds, and you get beat up. Were you beat in? No, I was blessed in. How does one get blessed in? Usually females are blessed in. Their boyfriends are part of blood, and so they just make them a part of blood. What else is required of new members of the Bloods? You have to learn paperwork. When you say learn paperwork, is that the same as learning the knowledge? Yeah. Anything else that's required? You have to follow the rules. You have to follow the rules. Let's get back to that in a minute. Do you have to have a sponsor, someone who brings you in? I mean, your big homie. Big homie is the person that you're under. The person that you're under. Is that the person who says that this person gets to join the gang? Mm-hmm. Before we talk about the rules, and we will talk about the rules, can we talk about dues? Mm-hmm. How much are people supposed to pay in dues? Every hood is different, but you roughly have to pay $31 a month. I'm sorry? I said every hood is different, but you roughly have to pay $31 a month. So generally, it's $31 a month? Yes. What are those dues used for? They're supposed to be used to better the community and do stuff and help take care of the homies in prison. You used the word supposed to. Yes. Would you elaborate on that, please? But they're usually not used for that. People use them for their own gangs, to usually the big homies in New York or whatever. They get all the money and nobody in the community sees anything. So the big homies in New York end up getting a lot of the money? Mm-hmm. Is that where it's supposed to go? Yep. But does it get used for different things? Yeah. Are there consequences for not paying dues? Yes. Will you tell us about some of those? I mean, you could get DP'd, which means you can get beat up, or you can get kicked out of the whole hood until you pay. Do you know individuals who have gotten kicked out of the hood over this? Yeah, I know a lot that got kicked out for not paying their dues. Would you please tell us about that? There was a line in Shelby under Cato that didn't pay their dues, so SI kicked them out until they came up with the money. It's a $1,000 loss. You use the name or moniker Cato. Who is that? K-A-T-O. Who is that? He's a high from Shelby, Nine Trey. So he's a Nine Trey gangster? Mm-hmm. Do you know his real name? I do not. Do some members of the United Blood Nation or the Nine Trey gangsters commit crimes to pay dues? Yeah. What crimes do they commit? Robbery, selling drugs. If you know, do the leaders of the Nine Trey gangsters, the leaders of the United Blood Nation, know that their members are committing robberies? Objection, Your Honor. Robberies to pay dues? Objection as to what they know. If you have personal knowledge of this, The answer to this question, you can testify. If you're just guessing or speculating, then you can't answer the question. I don't know what they know. You don't know what they know? Right. That's fine. That's why I asked it that way. If I may? Well, before we do that, tell me a little bit about the rules. There's 31 rules that 30 to 31 rules. Each, you might get a different set from different paperwork that you are supposed to live by when you become blood, and that's what you're supposed to follow. Are those rules always identical? Not always identical, but mainly the same. So they're very similar. Are there, without looking at any paperwork, are there any rules that you can recall off the top of your head as being particularly important? No snitching. No snitching? And are there penalties that sometimes get associated with those rules? Yeah. What's the penalty for snitching? Death. Death? What other rules jump to mind? No homosexuality. What other rules? You have to learn your paperwork, safeguard all blood knowledge, learn literature, and, like, law books, study law books and stuff like that. Okay, and you said that the high leaders of the Nine Trey gangsters in the United Blood Nation were incarcerated in New York State? How do you run a gang from inside a prison wall? In New York State, they get visitation every day. So usually from about 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So you can send one person in to get information from this individual, and then go to that individual, take that information, pass it along to another individual. Phones, kite, mail. That's how you run it. But those prison visits are very important, right? Yeah. Let me go back one step. You were a high-ranking blood? Did you know that the people under you were committing crimes to pay their dues? Yeah. Yes? Yeah. I'd like to turn now to Exhibit 24. Actually, let me take this down for a moment. With the court's indulgence, I'd like to break this out into a little more detail. So you talked about prison visits. And we know you did prison visits, right? Both before and after you were operating as a source. Right. Did you pass what are called kites around? Yes. Did you exchange emails with people? Yes. Did you? I know you said you were receiving letters and sending them on. Did you also, as a leader of the UBN, send your own letters to various leaders? Yes. What about jail calls? Yes. In your experience, are jail calls sometimes three-wayed? Would you explain to the jury what that is and how that's set up? Like, someone from prison will call whoever's number is on their list, and then that person will call somebody else. And you were sometimes the person who was called and relayed a call to other people? Yes. And were you sometimes the recipient of a call that was three-wayed through someone else? Yes. And what was the purpose of this? So that the person could talk to me, or I could pass a message to someone else, or they could get in contact with someone else. But for a moment, actually, let's look back at all of the communication methods that we're talking about here. Whether prison visitation or three-way phone calls or passing kites. What's the purpose for the gang of communicating that way? So they can't trace back? So who can't trace it back? The police can't trace it back? Is that to avoid law enforcement? Yeah. Is that to protect the gang from criminal implication? Objection, Your Honor. These are all leading questions. Yes, sir. Let's turn to Exhibit 24. This has been conditionally admitted, and it has been previously shown to the jury while conditionally admitted. I'm going to be laying the foundation now to admit this exhibit. So it has been conditionally admitted already and shown to the jury. Right. So if we go ahead and show it to the jury now? Ms. Starr, are you seeing the document that's been marked Government Exhibit 24? Yes. Do you recognize this document? Yes. How do you recognize it? It's an email from my email. You said from your email? Does your email appear at the top of the document? Yes. If we could do a pullout of that, would you read the line where your name appears? Kelly Starr, Blood Babe, underscore 247 at yahoo.com. You read Bloody Babe underscore 247 at yahoo.com? Mm-hmm. Was that your email address? Yes. May I ask why you used the name Bloody Babe? Blood, that was the name I chose for my email. So that was signifying your affiliation? Yes. There's an email address down below, 99 Deltas. Mm-hmm. Whose email address is that? The FBI's. And I would like to go down and highlight this box. Under the portion that says forward message, would you read the name and address after the word from? Omega Montana at yahoo.com to Bloody Babe underscore 247 at, and let me stop you there. Are you familiar with the sender who used that email address? Yes. Who was that? Omega. He's a hive for the Nine Trey in North Carolina. Do you know his real name? Omar Reed. Is he a defendant in this case? Yes, he is. Had you exchanged emails with him regularly at this email address? Yes. If we could close this out. And you have reviewed this exhibit as part of preparation, correct? Yes. Is it an accurate duplicate of the email that you received from Omar Reed and later forwarded to the FBI? Yes. Government moves to admit. Hearing no objection. What? Are you objecting? No? Hearing no objection, 24 is now fully admitted. Thank you. We're now familiar already with much of this material, but let me take you to a few things I would like to ask you about. If we could go to page 2 in this document, will you highlight that section? Yes, exactly that. Thank you. Would you read the first line of this document? Nine Trey oath, subject to change upon further developments. And for the record, that's actually the first line in the middle of the page where those words appear. This is the gangster oath for the Nine Trey gangsters. Mm-hmm. Were you in your tour through the United Blood Nation ever a Nine Trey gangster? Mm-hmm. Did you take this oath? Mm-hmm. Will you read it for us now? I hereby take this oath and declare my name is Nine Trey. With this oath I now take, I swear on my life to uphold and fulfill all the duties and responsibilities that have been bestowed upon my GFs and OGs and Gs. If I shall transgress or violate this oath that I swore by my life to live by, then this oath shall and will be the death of me.